So welcome to Dr. Tammy's Life Flip. Today we're going to be doing Discovering Your Passion. This is Module 6, and we're going to be talking about the sort of deep dive into how do you find your life's mission? How do you find your life's purpose? What are you supposed to be doing? And I'm no mythical guru that's going to help you find that. It is inside you right now. It's kind of like Dorothy's slippers. You know exactly what it is. It's just sometimes all the noise gets a little bit cloudy, and so it gets really hard to get clear what your biggest life purpose is. So I'm going to give you some really specific, fun little exercises that you can do and some really tangible things that you can kind of put your hands on to say, hey, I'm on the right path, or maybe I need to look at things just a little bit differently. So Module 1, and if you haven't seen that, please go back and watch that. And it's on our YouTube channel, which is Better Living RX is our YouTube channel. So please go watch that, and it's also on some of my Facebook Live stuff. And that is a deep dive into conscious engineering. I talk about the stages, stage 1 through stage 4, and stage 1 being very reactive, where things just happen, all the way to things happen from me that actually create every aspect of my life, which is delicious, and it is taking full personal responsibility for every aspect in your life. And when we're talking about finding your passion and creating what makes you passionate, you have to be in stage 3 or stage 4 to really bring those things about. So it's kind of cool to understand what those stages are about. Module 2 was creative sensorization, so using all 5 and even 6 of your senses to set goals and to actually bring things about that you want in your life. And then Module 3 was self-discovery and branding yourself. Very fun topic. Module 4 was blueprint redesign for your life. And Module 5 was unraveling your story and making a new one, and I did that just a couple of days ago. So if you haven't watched those, hopefully they'll be really helpful. Please comment, please share if they've been helpful to you, if you've implemented some of the strategies from those things. So please share, and share these videos with other people. I'm making all this information available for free right now, so it's like no reason not to be taking advantage of it. So please do share with your network of friends, share with everybody you know. Please share the API movement. We're going to talk about a little bit more about that today, which is assume positive intent. And in everything that we do, API is so powerful. In fact, it's Monday morning, and I woke up this morning. It's a little cloudy. I've been on vacation all weekend, had a wonderful weekend in a cabin on the river. And it was just like, okay, Monday morning, getting back into the groove of things. And I realized that I'm so blessed that I get to be able to be with you here today and be able to share this information, that I didn't have to be in the office, and even though I love being in the office and I love helping people and I call that my day job, just the privilege of being able to have my Monday free, where I could get up early and I could exercise and I could meditate and I could juice and I could do all those things that really feed my soul, and I could really get in touch with what my passion is. And I will tell you that if your life is so busy and so noisy with so much stuff, it makes it really hard for you to get clear on what your passion is. So you may have to take a little inventory, or you can rearrange some time in your life. And when people say, I don't have time, time is about priority. So when you make it a priority to focus on what you want to bring about in your life, everything changes. So that's really cool. So today we're talking about discovering your passion, and this is the last part of this Life Flip module. So passion is a strong and barely controllable emotion. So when you think about passion, that's really at the core what it is, something that is really strong and barely controllable. So when you are doing something that is your passion, talking about this stuff is my passion, I just almost want to scream. I just want to squeal, because it's like I am sharing my passion with you in a passionate way. So what makes you absolutely just, I said in one of the other modules, what would you do if you absolutely could not fail? What would make you just jump out of bed in the morning and go, holy crap, I can't believe that I get to do that today? What would that thing be? So really focusing on what those things are that really drive you and really make you feel passionate, which passion is just an emotion. So passion is not something that is this amorphous thing out there that you're looking for to just fall in your lap, like that's my passion. And I spent so many years doing that. I always said, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this really big thing. And I don't know what that really big thing is. And I just kept hitting my head against the wall. And I kept, with the shoulds, I always say don't should on yourself. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And so even today, this morning when I woke up, I had a little conflict because I was thinking, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. There's laundry to be done. And no, the first thing I wanted to focus on was getting this ready to prepare and to share with you today so that I could help you find what makes you passionate too, what makes you barely controllable, what makes you just stinking, just want to scream. You just love it so much. And maybe you're already doing that, which is great. And if you are, then maybe you just need to move around some choices in your life to focus more attention into that thing. And if you're not doing that thing, if you absolutely just don't jump out of bed going, and everything's got its kind of yin and its yang, everything has its a little bit of work, you have to put some effort into things just a little bit. But when you find that thing that you just absolutely love to do, that just speaks to you, and you just get so excited when you get up in the morning, then that is where that passion comes from that drives you to continue to do that. So I want to talk about what passion is and passion isn't. Passion isn't something to find or something elusive out there that's just kind of waiting on you. It's something you live. And it's something that you breathe and that you experience. And the foundation for all you do and create is what your passion is. It's your unique purpose, your perspective kind of wrapped in a big bow, and it's given to heal and serve. And so if you are not healing and serving, then you're probably not really passionate about what you're doing, because humans have to create. So if you're in a dead end job and you feel like you're not creating, then you're probably not going to be passionate about that job. But here's the kicker: you can create passion anywhere in your life. So even if it's a job that you don't particularly like maybe you're working um, doing phone sales for, just a online company or something, and you think, oh, that I'm not very passionate about that. You can find passion in every single moment. You can find just something that just really creates a lot of energy for you. So you can say, I'm going to be very passionate today about engaging with people and talking with people and having a certain experience. So passion can be created in any given moment based on just enjoying what you're doing. And sometimes you have to do some of the things I've taught you in some of the other modules and just assume positive intent, slow down just a little bit, create a little bit of peace and happiness right where you are, listen to some nice music. Sometimes motivation and passion can kind of go together. And sometimes when you lose your motivation for something, you need to kind of rethink things, slow down just a little bit, and look at what can motivate you. A lot of times when I feel a little lack of motivation on things I'm motivated, some things that I can do is I can turn on some music that motivates me. I can read something, or I can be inspired by other people. So like this morning, I was listening to some of my mentors, and so getting really inspired to share this message with you and thinking, what was it that I heard them say that might inspire me going forward to help you? So you can get motivated in lots of little ways, which will then spark your passion. So passion's kind of like a flame, and sometimes it needs to be given a little bit of oxygen, kind of like a flame. So you have to fire that up just a little bit. So sometimes taking a vacation, sometimes getting a little bit of fresh air, sometimes, like I say, a little music, just something that just kind of inspires you can really fire you up just a little bit. Okay. So it's time to step into your own shoes. I love this saying because you have a purpose. You have a God intended purpose in this life, and you came into this physical existence with some purpose to heal, to serve, to create. Whatever that purpose was, there is some purpose, and you may be doing it right now, and you may be fulfilled, and you may be living that. You're probably not listening to this right now if you are, or if you're not completely stepping into it. So get into those big girl shoes, or big boy shoes, and I always say pull up your big girl panties and start living your passion. Stop letting fear get in the way of what it is that you want to be doing. And we all have those limiting beliefs, and so I recommend that you go through some of the other modules and work on some of those core beliefs, limiting beliefs, shadow beliefs, and get really clear on what those are so that you can really move forward and start stepping in your passion. So that's the deliciousness of what this module 6 is it's a culmination of all the other 5 modules to help you really step into this finding that thing that makes you feel passionate. So passion itself is an emotion, but finding that thing that drives and fuels that passion is really important for you to feel significant in this life. And once our basic needs are met, food and water and, you know, our health and those kinds of things, then we need to start moving into feeling significant. So part of significance is doing things that fuel and fire your passion. So one of the little exercises that you can do to help you find those things that really fuel and fire your passion is what's fun for me. Because literally, if it's not fun, you shouldn't be doing it. If it doesn't fire you up and make you just laugh and enjoy it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Now, there are certain things that I guess you couldn't like show fun. You might be passionate about, say you wanted to be a funeral director. You know, you have to be kind of tempered a little bit, but you could still have fun even as a funeral director, right? You could still get people to laugh and kind of be a little light about things and kind of ease the mood a little bit. So there is any aspect in your life you can have fun in. What's fun for you? And so maybe even if what you call your day job isn't all that fun, it's really important that you find fun in other areas of your life. And it's so easy to feel like a victim and to find excuses and say, well, I got the kids and I got to go to soccer and I got to go to blah, 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 and I got to do blah, 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 and I got to do blah, blah, blah. And there's just no time left over for me. Stop being a victim. Make time for yourself. Carve that time out for yourself. Hire someone else to drive the kids if that's what you need to do. You know, do something to carve that time out for yourself. Or if you don't have the money to hire somebody to help you out, barter. Barter is one of the most wonderful things that you can do. Sometimes if I needed somebody to do some transcription the other day, and I didn't really want to pay anybody, and I just like put a little Facebook post out there, and I said, who wants to barter for some transcription services? You know, and I'll trade some labs or some supplements or something for my day job, you know, and I'm happy to do that. So anyway, I got two, like within 5 minutes, I got two people, you know, taking me up on the offer. So, you know, if there are areas in your life that you need to take some inventory and you need to clear some space, stop making the excuses that I can't afford it or letting money get in the way, because that's just crap. Money's just energy. So you can, you know, offer to say, hey, other parents or something, if you guys will, you know, help me out and we can kind of pick up the kids and do that, then I'll pick them up on these days and do that. And that frees up a little time and space for you. So it's very important that whatever area in your life, if you feel like that you don't have time or money for, that maybe you just barter those services out and you kind of just rearrange those things. But don't be a victim and don't make excuses for not being able to move into an area of your life and find your passion. Let's say you work 2 jobs or 2.5 jobs. It'd be hard to work 3 jobs, but I guess you could if they were kind of spread out. And maybe use the excuse, well, I can't find that something that I'm passionate about because I'm so busy working all the time. Well, you might move one of those jobs and you might find something you're passionate about in that job now, or you might find a different job and move that around just a little bit. So you can't make excuses. You have to just be really willing to take inventory of what's going on in your life and where you're spending your time and your energy. But if it's not fun, it's probably not worth it. So really you have to find what you enjoy and what's fun. And sometimes you can even go back to when you were a little kid and say, what was fun for me back then? So when I was young, you know, the things that were fun were playing. So what can you incorporate play with? So some of the things that were like when I like to play, I like to imagine and pretend. So you might say, well, I'm a 50-year-old woman now. Imagination and pretending doesn't really have a place in my life. Well, every night at about 9:30 or 10, I invite my muses to come write a novel with me. So I get to play and pretend, and I am totally in this world with this girl who's a doctor back in the wild, wild west, who's a doctor for outlaws. So I get to go play and I get to be her for a little while and I get to have that experience. So I could step back and say, well, I don't have time to play and pretend, and I'm too old to do that anyway. But I have found a way to put that into my life where it's fun, it's productive, it makes me feel really good. So you can do that too. So if there's something from your childhood, painting, drawing, baking, anything, you can find a way to incorporate that in your life in a way that's fun. So take some inventory of what's fun for you. Singing, dancing, anything. There's tons of things. Okay, now I want to back up just a little bit and I want to not only say what's fun, but I want to say what's weird about you. So I want you to think just a minute what you like would least want the world to know about you? I want you to think about that just a minute. What's the weirdest thing about you that, oh my gosh, if people found out that you had that quality, they would totally freak out? I want you to think about that for a minute. Got it? What is it? If you're in a room by yourself, you're probably not even like comfortable sharing it because you're like, oh my gosh, why would that be like a quality that I would want to share? So when I think about my weirdest, quirkiest qualities, one of my weirdest, quirkiest qualities is the way that I interact with people sometimes. And I know you wouldn't really guess it because I have done a lot to sort of be able to connect with people. But I am just goofy. In my like real life, like people who know me, like some of my best girlfriends that have known me like forever know that I am a complete goofball, like really weird goofball, like just like off the wall goofball. So that is what I can actually bring forward just a little bit. And I actually have some workshops that I do called Project Fun, where we can put on silly hats and we can jump on pogo sticks and we can swing around the room. We can do all sorts of crazy things. So I can actually use that fun, weird, quirky side to actually bring some trauma out of people or to help them heal. So there may be something that feels really weird to you that you wouldn't want to share with other people, or maybe you're really silly, or maybe you're really kind of crazy in your other life. So, there are qualities probably about yourself that you might want to look at. So look at those qualities. What makes you quick, quirky, or weird? And those can be your biggest assets. And, something that seems really strange or something really different is what attracts people to you. I was just listening to Sally Hogshead the other day, and she was doing a talk on, quirky, weird, different. And in branding, we talked about that in the branding module that I did. And branding, it's not what makes you bigger or better, but it's what makes you different that makes you so special. And so she was talking about for trick or treating that she had two different lines. And where she got this was at Disney World, Space Mountain, they have two different lines. They have the orange ticket line and the green ticket line. And basically, like the green ticket line is, they kind of say it's like the baby line. The orange ticket line is like an experience, like a scary, crazy drama experience. And so people line up for this line like around the park two or three times. Hours and hours they'll stand in this specific line. And it's the same ride, but they want what's different or quirky or weird or scary. They're like actually signing up for that. So with trick or treating, she said she had a kitty candy line and she had the zombie candy line. And she said that people were lined up for the zombie candy line clear around the block because they had to go through like this tube or this tunnel or whatever to get her front door. And she said it was the exact same candy that they were giving out. There's not really such a thing as zombie candy, right? But they signed up for the experience. So think about where you're creating experience in your life. And, it's hard not to talk about business because so much of what we do in our day life and our grown up life is business. So some of these things you can incorporate in business that you are already in or in the job that you're already in. But how can you create that passion? How can you create that experience that just goes above and beyond? So, some of those things that you can do is to delineate that you get this particular experience with me. So, if you're a beautician or if you're um, if you do advertising or you do something like that, let people know that when they come to you, it's going to be an experience. It's going to be, consistent, but it's going to be like crazy and it's going to be fun. And they're going to, just really come to know you as something different. And so let them get in the zombie candy line because that's what they're absolutely going to love. And so as you're creating this job for yourself or this career or this thing where your passion comes in, then you want to create that kind of weird quirkiness and incorporate those weirdest, quirkiest qualities into what you do. So if you're a car salesman and you are just kind of just on fire with, your silly jokes and stuff like that, then just play that up and be who you are and be natural and don't force anything. So it has to be your quirky, weird qualities, but that's what you're going to take forward that you're really going to kind of incorporate in your life and in what you do that brings about those passionate feelings. If you could wake up every morning and do something just for the sheer enjoyment of it, what would it be? It would be, for me, it would be to get on a Facebook Live, or it would be to go to the TV studio and talk about something that I'm passionate about. So, man, that alarm goes off, bam, I'm out of the house, I'm ready to go do that. And, maybe it is, I call it my day job, but really getting the opportunity to go help people with their hormones and go help people with their healing processes that they need. So I am living the things that make me very, very passionate. So it's very important that whatever you're doing right now, that you also find a way to be passionate in that. So think about what you would do. A life unexamined is not worth living. That was a statement by Socrates. So sometimes what you have to do is really slow down and really look at how you're living your life, how you're expending your energy. And if you're not doing it with a high degree of passionate feeling, then you may have to reevaluate and make some different choices. I always say you're not broken, you don't need fixed, but you might need to make some different choices. And literally, your life could look completely different. You could have different friends, you could have a different house, you could have a different car, you could live in a different place in 60 days or less. So I always tell people, as soon as you stop making excuses for the way your life looks like right now, it can be completely different in less than 60 days. So now if you keep making excuses and you say, no, it couldn't be, or no, I have to do this, no, you don't have to do any of that. It can look completely different. So whenever you decide, I'm going to start doing the things that are fun, that I feel good about, that I can incorporate my authentic, quirky, silliness to, then I will start living the things that I am really passionate about. So I want you to think about what's holding you back, because I know this all sounds good, but I know that you're probably also thinking, yeah, but. In my workshops, sometimes I'll say that anybody who says, yeah, but, they have to put $1 in the jar. It's like a cuss jar. So yeah, buts will totally destroy you when you start moving into things that you are passionate about. So I call them the 4 F's. Number 1 is fatigue. So when you have overwhelm, exhaustion with lack or life direction, fatigue is the number 1 F that's going to pull you back. And that's one of the things that I have said over the years as one of my biggest excuses not to do the things that I'm really passionate about. Well, the things that I'm doing over here, I'm so tired and there's no energy left at the end of the day. Have you ever said that? So if you wanted to be something, like you wanted to be an artist or a painter or be in a band, you use the excuse that, well, I work all day and then I've got the kids and then I'm too tired to think about that. So if you're using fatigue as one of your F's, as one of your limitations to not move into things that you're passionate about, then you need to look at some ways that you can rearrange some aspect of your life so that you're not completely exhausted. And how can you incorporate the things that you love into the aspects of your life right now so that you can start having the feeling of whatever it is that you're trying to create already? So let's say you were an artist, and let's say your day job was working in a dress shop. And you might think, well, how could I pull that into my life right now? Well, maybe you talk to the owner of the dress shop and you say, hey, could I paint the windows on my downtime or on my break and put like a fall theme or a Christmas theme on the windows with my acrylic paints and just decorate up the windows? Or could I do some muraling on the back wall in some of my, downtime, or, maybe they might even pay you to do that. So you could bring art into your quote day job, right? So that's what I do when I work with patients with hormones and things like that. And I'm talking about nerdy science stuff, which I also love and I'm also very passionate about. Oh my gosh, I get like I get so excited when I start talking about like chemistry and hormones and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy. Another quirky, weird thing about me. But I also find a way to bring this other passion, which is this life flip stuff and API, into when I'm working with patients, because I also know that when people have perceived stress or when they're letting things interfere with the way their life is showing up, that their hormones get out of balance. So I find a way to incorporate this stuff that I'm also very passionate about in with my day job. So I am always enjoying, I'm always passionate about everything that I do throughout my day. And even if I'm doing something like folding laundry that I'm not completely passionate about, I'll be listening to music that I love, or I'll be listening to some of my gurus about this stuff that I share with you. And so I love that stuff. So it just like the time that I'm folding clothes, I can still do that with love and joy because I'm doing something that I really enjoy with my headphones on and listening to something, or I'm engaging in something. So I'm never, quote, wasting any time. Pretty much all my waking hours I spend doing what I'm passionate about. And what I'm also passionate about is being loving with my family. So, with my husband, with my children, making sure that I'm engaged with them when I'm with them so that I'm completely passionate about the time that I spend with them too. Instead of how it used to be for me when I was at work, I felt like I should be at home. When I was at home, I felt like I should be at work. And you can never be happy that way. You can never be passionate about anything you're doing in the moment when you're shooting on yourself, when you think you should be doing something else. So, in any given moment, whatever it is that you're doing, slow down, breathe, focus on some gratitude, find the grandness in the situation. So, I'm going to give you some little exercises here in just a little bit that's actually going to help you do that on a real specific level. So, hang tight. Um, I want to get through these 4 F's, and then I'm going to give you some very specific, tangible little exercises you can do to help you do that. So, one of the other F's is forbidden, forbidden passion. You know, there's so much around passion. We think about passion as we think about romance, and we think about forbidden romance. And so, some of our limiting beliefs is sometimes we attach passion as wrong. If you love it too much, you know, some of the old early religious beliefs would be like you have to suffer and you have to. And I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but I don't believe that. I believe we are creators, and I believe life is meant to be delicious and have fun. So all that stuff about forbidden fun is a little bit of a challenge for some people. You know, I had an awareness one time, and so I want you to look back in your childhood at times when you got maybe deflated or felt defeated about fun or things that you were passionate about. One of the things that happened to me in my childhood was my dad had a lot of sensory issues, so a lot of noise in the house really bothered him. So when the kids were laughing or playing, sometimes he would yell at us to be quiet. So I learned very easily, you know, very early that sometimes having fun or being really passionate about what you were enjoying in the moment was not cool, was not okay. And I really learned to kind of downplay that a little bit. So you might think about some areas in your life where somebody stepped in and said, don't do that. What about singing at the table? How many of us, when we were kids and we were happy, and especially if the food was really good and it smelled really good, we'd be humming or singing at the table, and we were told it's rude, don't sing at the table. I'm sorry, but that is total crap. And if you do that to your kids, you might reevaluate because it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're in a restaurant and they're being really loud and disruptive, yeah, I mean, there's a time and place for everything. But if your child is happy and singing, oh my gosh, why would you ever put a damper on that? So I just think that, you know, when I was a kid, if I were to sing at the table or sometimes even talk at the table, you know, that was just not acceptable. And so I've just learned that having fun sometimes or singing is not okay. And then, like anything that had a laugh track, like comedies or Saturday Night Live or anything like that, we were not allowed to watch because I guess because of my parents, you know, they just didn't think they wanted all that noise and stuff. So they were constantly telling us to be quiet. And, you know, so I just think about the times when we put a damper on fun and laughter. So, oh my gosh. So if you have that or that shows up, really look at that because forbidden or fun or passion, sometimes we have these limitations around that. So you might just want to look at that. If I didn't care what anyone thought, I would. And so that's a fun little exercise you can do is kind of take that sentence and say, if I didn't care what anybody thought, I would do what? And, you know, like when I think about that statement, sometimes I think if I didn't care what anybody thought, I would probably run down the street naked and just feel the cool air and just like, oh my gosh, you know, how great is this? And especially if it was raining or something, you know, it'd be like, oh my gosh. So, but that's not acceptable, right? In fact, that's like illegal. So we can't do that. So you might have to like look at that, like what's like socially acceptable a little bit, because you don't want to get arrested, because then that kind of defeats the purpose. But what would you do if you didn't care what anybody thought? And so, it's funny. I saw a girl on Facebook the other day who had some, um, she's a model, I think, and she had some pictures taken. And she said, I don't really care what people think, however I'm dressed or whatever I look like in my pictures. And I thought, you know what? Good for her. If she just doesn't live her life based on what she thinks other people will think. And I believe as long as you're doing it with love and positivity, that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Now, if you're doing something that is going to, compromise someone else, then I don't think you should be doing that. But, you know, if it's something that's loving, that just makes you feel good, and it uplifts other people, then I don't think that other people should judge that or should get in the way. If I knew my parents, my boss, or my friends wouldn't find out, I would do what? So think about that. What would you do that, that kind of those forbidden things that you might step into? Maybe you might write a, smut novel or a novel or something like that, trashy romance or something. And if nobody found out, you could do that and it'd be okay. So what would you do? And if I knew I couldn't mess up or fail, what would I do? Because we have also those limiting beliefs around passion and things like that, because we're just afraid to fail, which is ridiculous. I live my life based on the thought that not doing something, or the feeling of, just not completing something or not doing something that I love, to me, the consequence of that, on my deathbed, thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done that, regret. The fear of regret is so much bigger for me than the fear of doing anything. So putting myself out here and talking about good grief, running down the street naked, I'm not afraid to talk. I'm not afraid to be real with you. I'm not afraid to tell you whatever kind of pops into my head. It's kind of funny because sometimes I tell my son, I'm like, honey, you don't have to say everything that pops into your head. But I'm not afraid to be real. And so I think that's really important when you're looking for things that drive your passion, because you have to be vulnerable, you have to be real, you have to be authentic, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there. So it's really important. Okay, the third F is fear, and we just kind of talked about that a little. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. And to me, again, regret is so much scarier to me than anything that I could possibly do, that I just kind of live my life based on much more scared of the regrets of not doing something. And the last F is fight. So be ready for the fight. Be ready for the law of opposites, because whenever you step into something that you absolutely love, lots of things will show up to kind of test your dedication, so to say. If you've ever started a new business, oh my gosh, the things that show up, I call it the law of opposites, to really test your resolve, to really say, do you really want this? Will really show up, because what happens is you appreciate it all the more when you've had some of those little trials and things. So that fight is really an important F to look at, because those things are going to show up. If you decide to become an artist and you've never painted before, your first couple of paintings are probably not going to look so good. I mean, when I first kind of really started getting into painting, like some of it looked like total crap. And art is really so subjective. I mean, you look at like Van Gogh, some of that stuff looks like he literally just splashed paint. Like, who's the artist? Pollock? I mean, literally just splashed paint up there. But I kind of think of, things like art, it's so subjective, or music, it's so subjective. So even if other people don't think it sounds good, some of the, like Stevie Nicks is one of my favorite musical artists. Well, some people think she has a really gravelly, gross voice. I think she has one of the most unique voices. Tina Turner, she had a really kind of weird, quirky voice, but it just pops. It's different. It's quirky. It's weird. And she didn't say, I'm sure lots of people told her she couldn't sing worth a crap. And, she's an icon. So you've got something that makes you completely unique, that is so positioned you to do that thing that you can do, as long as you're passionate about it and step into it. So just really look at kind of some of those weird, quirky, unique things that are going to really just make people stand up and go, huh, that's different. And then when you have that stick-to-itiveness, so like if I just like made a couple of, paintings that I didn't really resonate with and think, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible painter, and then never painted anything ever again, I never would have created anything like this. So I'm not saying I'm any kind of amazing artist or anything, but I am saying that I get to create these things that make me feel really good and make me feel really like I'm stepping into something and doing something really cool. So look at the fight and be ready for the fear of the opposites to show up, the law of opposites to show up, because they will. I promise you, they will. I love this. Can't remember the book right offhand, but basically one of the things that she talked about in there was take yourself on a creativity day. And so this is just a beautiful thing that you can do is if you are having some challenge finding things in your life that you enjoy, that you can be very passionate about, not finding your passion, but things that you can do, that you can create, something that makes you feel good, that builds your self-confidence, that you can feel passionate about, then take yourself on a creativity day and commit every week. Put it on your calendar, just like if you're a hairdresser and you see people and you do their hair, put an hour for your creativity date on your schedule. Block it off and make that commitment to that creativity date. So do things like go for a walk. You can take your camera. You can take pictures. Maybe you want to be a photographer. Maybe you want to just kind of start taking pictures of things. Um, Go to the library. I love the library. I'm such a nerd with the library or Barnes and Noble. And just read the books. Just look at things to inspire you. And if you like photography, look at some photography books. If you like art books, look at some like kids painting books. Like start like really elementary, and that's one of the things when you're learning something new. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. Is find the teacher that you resonate with. So even if it's just on YouTube and you're looking for a teacher, if you can't figure something out the first time you watch something or you do something, find someone else who can teach you in a different way, because we all learn very differently. That's one of my pet peeves with the school system, is that they teach the same way. And so we have these kids who are quirky and special and have all these gifts, and we want them to all learn the same way, and they just don't. So what do? They end up getting bored, and then they get into trouble, and then there's all sorts of drama, and then they don't end up stepping into really what it is that they love, that they can be passionate about. So we kind of get behind the eight ball even when we're little through some of these traditional systems. So find someone who can teach you in a way that you understand it. If there's anything in your life that you want to do but you don't think you're very good at it, you just need some practice and you just need someone to show you how to do it in a way that you can learn. So that's really, really powerful. The creativity date could be going to an art supply store. I love Hobby Lobby, Michael's. You can get so inspired by different things. Plant something, a flower in the yard. Go to a thrift store. I love thrift stores because there's like the quirkiest, weirdest stuff in there sometimes. And sometimes I'll just buy like a vase and like some clunky jewelry and maybe some fabric with some lace, and I'll just kind of throw it together and I'll just kind of make something kind of weird, funky and weird. And most of the time I end up throwing it away because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. No one would ever want to look at that. But just the putting things together in a different new way. And one of the other things I talked about in some of the other modules was to create a different life for yourself. To have things show up in a different way, you have to think new thoughts. We think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 90% of them are the same thoughts every day. So if you're thinking the same crap every single day, the same crap that you're manifesting is going to show up in your life. So, if you can get busy, get outside your head, exercise, go to a thrift store, throw some junk together, try something new, it really gets you outside of those recurrent thoughts just a little bit. So that's really, really powerful. You could just go sit outside. You could go to an antique store. You could go to Home Depot or Lowe's and look at all kind of the little crazy different projects they have. You just do cloud watching. You could go on a picnic, draw with some sidewalk chalk. I love to draw with sidewalk chalk. It just kind of gets me what Prince called the river of music. I just get all crazy making squiggles, and I write smoke signal messages to God, on the sidewalk chalk. It's so fun. So you can do so much. Paint a picture, coloring. We have coloring books now, so all these different coloring books are out. Just draw something and color it. I just love that. Get on Pinterest. Pinterest is so fun. If you've ever played on Pinterest, you can get all sorts of creativity ideas on there. You could go crazy on there forever. Take a road trip, write a letter, go to a homeless shelter, make your bucket list, ride a bicycle, just go people watch at the mall, visit a graveyard. I love to visit graveyards because I love to like just think of the history and the stories of all those people who lived. That's really cool. You know, when I was in med school, this is a little bit creepy probably, but we did cadavers and we had like 40 cadavers in our physiology lab or an anatomy lab. And I would just like sometimes just kind of put my hands on the body and just, even though they're not physically there anymore, just feel the energy of who they were. You know, and I would look at the like the little old lady's hands with the wrinkles, and I would think about the cookies they used to bake for their children, and the tears they probably wiped on their babies, and there's just so much history, and it's just so fun to think about the stories and who people are. So that can be really rich. Go to a pet store, an animal shelter if you're really connected with animals and you love animals. Be a foster dog mom. I did that. I ended up adopting my little Sophie. I'm not an animal person at all, but we just connected, and she's like my best friend now, which is crazy. So you never know when you might connect with one of God's little furry creations, so that can be really good. Have a talk with God. Meditating, oh my gosh, meditating has changed my life. And I can't tell you enough that if you want to find those things that really free you up to do that you're passionate about, meditating is so wonderful. And in fact, like one day I needed the name for like a wellness center thing that I was trying to create. And I just went and meditated for about 10 minutes and I came back out and I just felt so much clearer. So I'm actually working on creating a meditation and I'll have that posted on Facebook very soon. Um, but that'll be an API meditation. So, assuming positive intent, I think it'll be really powerful for you. So, I'm hoping to have that done in the next week or two. So, just putting it out there and speaking it just kind of has put me to task to get that done all that much sooner. So, that'll be really awesome. But prayer or meditation is so powerful just to clear your head and to just kind of stop all the noise and stop all those thoughts that you keep thinking, and it just kind of changes the trajectory. So, and even taking a nap can do that too. So that's pretty cool. So I want to talk a little bit more, just deep dive into what those things are that create passion in your life. And so I want to talk about the myths of passion. And again, for years I thought that finding your passion was like one day this thing was going to hit me, that it was going to be my passion, it was going to be my purpose in life, and I was going to just know it immediately like a lightning bolt, and my whole life was going to change, and I was going to be a super rock star, and everybody was going to want me for that passion. No, it doesn't work that way. What happens is you find something that you love to do, you get into the experience of doing that, of loving it and loving it and loving it. You create more and more of that experience. And then you get really passionate about recreating that experience and making that experience better. And that's when you get passionate about what it is that you love to do. What is your purpose, how you create, how you heal, how you become the experience that you came here to be and to have this experience. So, myth number one, passion is something that finds me magically. It's something that elusive that I must discover. So the truth is, passion comes from success. And you might say, well, I've never been successful in anything. That's total crap. I'm always really real with you guys. So that's total crap. You've been successful at something. And even if it's been successful at having a child, or been successful at graduating high school, or been successful at maybe you're in sales, you've sold something at one point. So you've had some success in your life. So passion comes from success, and success comes from practice. So you're never going to be, unless you just have this, like some people I think have more innate gifts. Some people, I was just watching at my son's gymnastics class the other night. It's this huge warehouse of all these kids doing gymnastics. And there's this one kid who, just really stands out in like every area. And like this one girl was doing like Olympic moves. She just looked like she should be in the Olympics, these flips and back flips and, all these little poses and everything. So I think that some people are just very gifted, which makes us all unique. So it brings all these different flavors to the table, basically. So whatever it is, your flavor that you bring, you have to really work on that and you have to practice it. So there are things that I've practiced. Like I said, when I first started painting, it was terrible. It looked like crap. It's like I was one of those people that said I can't even draw a stick figure. And so as I kept drawing and I kept reading some books and doing YouTube videos and, learning things, then I got where I could actually create something that I felt really proud of. And so my whole house is filled with my paintings now. So maybe I'll give you a little tour on a Facebook Live sometime and show you some of my paintings and things. But success comes from practice. So if you give up the first time you try something, you'll never know if you could be successful at it or not. So you just kind of have to get that out of your head, that fear of failing, because there is no failing. You either learn something or you either succeed or you learn something. So there's no such thing as failure. You cannot find your passion in a mystical forest, and you have to get out there and just try stuff. Passion is not a mystical being. It is doing things, having success, doing more of that, having more success, and then feeling that gratitude, that self-worth, and getting fired up about something. And so one of the things is I kind of started writing and painting and getting into music. I was terrible at all those things when I started. I mean, they look terrible, even just subjectively. Most people would look at that and go, that's crap. But now that I practice and keep giving time and attention to things, it gets better. So that's really exciting. Passion is an emotion, and emotions keep us on track and in focus. So if you have emotions of not feeling good or sadness or depression, that just means that you're making choices that aren't in alignment with your higher self, with your gifts that you have, that you bring to the table, the flavors that you bring to the table. And so if you're depressed or sad, you don't need a pill. And I'm not saying, if you are clinically depressed or you're seeing a doctor, I'm not saying that there's not value in all those things. I am saying that you are not in alignment with whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing that creates your passion. And it's probably because you've been too afraid to practice something. Because to practice something means that you're not perfect at it. To practice something means that you need to get help. A lot of us have a hard time asking for help. To practice something means that we just didn't come right out of the gate being really, really excelled at it. So that's a yucky feeling. Nobody likes to not feel good enough. Nobody likes to feel like, oh, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't look good. But that's the process that everybody goes through. So if you see somebody who's really good at something, they've practiced. I don't care who they are. They have practiced. And so what you see is you see the immediate glory and the success, and they're an accomplished painter, an accomplished pianist. But I promise you, there was practice involved. Even if they had innate gifts, they still had to practice and they still had to work on those things. So oftentimes what sparks this emotion is ease and comfort. And the only way you can get ease and comfort with something is to keep doing it, to keep practicing it. And the enemy of the emotion passion is frustration. So the yin and the yang, passion is frustration. So if frustration starts showing up, it just means that you need to practice it more, that you need to get more comfortable with it. I'm not saying do something that you don't want to do, because it's going to drive you further into frustration. If you don't like something or it's not your gift, you're not going to ever really step into it, and it's just going to provide frustration. So if there's something that you just really love and you want to do, then find what it is that makes you feel really good and then practice it. And then know that it's not always going to be the beautiful thing that you want. And, sometimes when I do a painting, if I don't like the way it looks, I'll paint over it. I haven't wasted my canvas. I'll just spray paint it black and I'll start with a black background. So nothing is ever wasted. Energy is just transmuted or transformed. So don't be afraid of wasting things, and everything that you learn just adds to the experience. So, if it's something like you're trying to learn a new skill, none of that is ever wasted. It's just energy that's transformed into something else. So, give up that thought that it has to be perfect. Myth number 2 about passion. Passion needs to be found. Well, the truth is you already know what you're good at. You just need to find a way to be better at it so you can get really excited about it. Take some classes, hone your skills, read some books, practice, practice, practice. And if you only feel average at something, you won't feel passionate about it. So whatever it is that you really want to step into, you just have to really practice it and put the work into it. And then when you get more self-confidence with it, you will be totally passionate about it. I talk to people who want to be public speakers, and they ask me, how did you get to be where you could be on TV in front of literally thousands, hundreds, thousands of people? How do you do what you do? And I'm like, I practice. So I have a gift for it, but I also practice. And so I speak constantly, and I get really real and really authentic, and I make sure that my message is in alignment with what I want to share. And then I just share it. And I don't preach. I don't memorize scripts. I just speak from my heart and I share this information. And I do that in my day job. I work with people with hormones. That's what I do is I'm really practiced at understanding how things in the body work. So it just all flows. And so people would say, she's really passionate about hormones. It's because I've practiced. I have read, I've gone to courses, I have studied, I have put it together in an applicable way, and I have applied it to people and applied it to lives. And I didn't just hide, what is it, that little song, hide it your light under a bushel. I didn't hide it, and I wasn't afraid to try it. Oh my gosh, when I think about my medical practice and the way I do things now, it's so different because I wasn't afraid to try new things, and I wasn't afraid to tell people, hey, I want to try this new thing. When I first started doing food sensitivity testing on people, I didn't know how well it was going to work. Now I know because I've done it on literally thousands of people, and it's had a huge impact on inflammation and pain. But in the beginning, I would just be really real and vulnerable and authentic and say, I've seen some good results. I've read a lot that this helps, but I just practiced the experience of helping people through different processes. And now I'm really passionate about what I do in my day job. And now I'm really passionate about what I can do to help people through these processes like API and a lot of the things that I teach, because I see the impact that it has. And then I'm practiced at it, and I just get better at it. And I just get better at it. And so you look at me and you think, oh, she's so accomplished, and she's a doctor, and she's a writer, and she's, a TV show, and I had to practice all that stuff, and I was just as insecure and scared and lost and um, hid under the pillows as much as anybody. And I had to have like loving connections and relationships and people who would drag my books out of the trash when I was in med school, and say, don't give up. This is your passion. And so sometimes one of the best things you can do is to connect with people in your life who know your gifts and who will stay with you and say, don't let this, little apparent defeat get you down, and just learn from it and use that moving forward. So the only way to be above average is to work at being really great at something. And sometimes we just don't want to invest the time. We just want to be really good at it right now. And I get it. I mean, I'm such a little kid when it comes to that. I'm like, I want to be really good at it now, and I don't want to practice, and I don't want to work at it. But when I really want something, I keep doing it, and I keep showing up. And even though I'm not very good at it, I just keep doing it because I really want it. When I first learned to play the guitar, I was really terrible when I started. And I just really wanted it. So I just kept showing up and kept doing it. And like eventually it starts to take form. So I'm going to share with you a little bit more about that in a minute. Myth number 3, passion can't be created. You are either gifted or you aren't. So that's not true at all. We do have gifts. And I do think it's important to work with your gifts and to find those things that you feel good about, because those things that you're gifted at are the things that you're really good at. And so that's why we all have different things we're gifted at. Your gifts were chosen by you before you ever came into this physical existence. And I'll just tell you, I believe that with every fiber of my being. So if that doesn't resonate with what you believe, then I apologize, and I hope that doesn't shut you down completely for this message. But I truly believe that we choose just about everything before we come into this physical existence, and that this isn't the only shot we get at it. I think that we've had probably literally hundreds of thousands of experiences, and that you never get it wrong and you never get it done. So this is just one. So stop taking it so freaking serious, because it's just one lifetime, right? Or one experience. So when you can kind of step out of that and you can just say, hey, I came in with these certain gifts, and the gifts that I came in with were, part of it was kind of being quirky and weird and being able to connect with people on a level that sometimes other people can't connect with, and just being really authentic and vulnerable. Part of my gifts are the science part because it comes really easy for me that I can understand things like hormones and physiological processes, and I understand that thoughts create neurohormonal chemical processes, which then become hardwiring, which with neuroplasticity can be unwound, can be unplugged and changed. So I understand the science and the chemicals and the hormones and the physics as well as the thoughts and the things that we create. So I just have a little knack for that. And so that's why I'm talking to you, and that's why you're listening to me. So that's one of my gifts. Your gifts might be music, your gifts might be art, your gifts might be your ability to make people laugh. Maybe you're just really funny. I don't know where your gifts are, what you have for flavors that you connect with people with, but I promise they're there, and you just need to look at them and really step into them. And if they're not quite where you think they need to be, then there's probably some practice that needs to come into play. And even if you're really gifted, like you're a savant with like piano, you still have to practice. You still have to learn new songs. You still have to learn things that connect with people, and learn new technologies and things to get those out there. So you never stop learning, so you never get it done. So that's really exciting as well. Okay, so when you're compared to others constantly, it gets easy to get lost in the uniqueness of who you are and what you do. So when you think about like Van Gogh, if we were to look at his art now, or like when he was doing it, some people said, "Oh my gosh, that looks like a little kid painting." It's like just splashed kind of art. So it's all very subjective. But I think that there is also this comparison that comes up. So one of the biggest problems that comes about when we're trying to find something that we're really good at and practice it and get really good at it and even better at it and become experts at it is that we compare ourselves to other people and we let that shut us down. And instead of saying, I'm different, so I am a piano player, but I play quirky, weird, haunted, scary, creepy, weird music, then, the thing is that what happens is instead of the first time somebody says that's weird music, we stop doing it and then we mainstream. So you have to be able to stay out of the mainstream to really cultivate your craft, to really cultivate what it is that you love and that you can get passionate about. And I think that one of the problems is the school system. We are in the standardized school system that really teaches only one way. And if you learn different ways, it becomes really hard to really find that niche that you really are gifted at and then to really practice that. And we get so spread out, and we're taught that you have to pick one thing that you're going to be. And so, like, what are you going to be when you grow up? And if you say many different things, you kind of get that funny look. Well, you can't do all those things. When there is the great possibility that you absolutely can. So, learning to appreciate how as much as what you do and the different things that show up, the uniqueness, and if we could really take our children and teach them in the way that they learn and focus on their gifts and let them do the things they really love. So, like with me, my son's really good at the computer. And it'd be really easy for me to go, well, you need to go out there and try sports and you need to try football and, be well rounded. He doesn't enjoy it. He doesn't like that stuff. And for me to make him go do that is totally going against his gifts. So, if I can just focus on what it is that he loves to do and then really go with that. I love this little joke. It says, to increase morale, instead of A to F grades, we'll now rank students great, really great, awesome, awesomer, and most awesomest. So how wonderful would that be if in our school system we didn't have failure? It was just, hey, try something and you could be awesome at it, or you might be the most awesomest at it. What would our society look like if we could help kids really focus on, what works for them best? Myth 4 is passion must make us feel complete. And the truth is, oftentimes our emotion is a passion that's triggered when there's a challenge. So, some of the things that I'm most challenged by, like music or art, really are the things that when I create something that's like kind of cool, like my little painting, like I showed you just a minute ago, I create something that's really pretty or I feel really good about, it's like, holy crap, I had no idea that I had that in me or that I could do that. And so, it's not like you have to be just this rock star that's just really fabulous at what you do, because sometimes the creative process of getting better at something feels really, really good. So it's about really becoming complete in something. And again, you never get it done. So there's always one more thing to accomplish. And I love the saying, Abraham Hicks, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, you never get it wrong and you never get it done. So it's really the creative process that's so beautiful. And myth number 5 is it doesn't matter if anyone else is interested in your passion. That's kind of true to an extent, because you have to really love it. But I would say that if it's something that you're trying to create for the world, and that's what we do, is we create experiences, right? That you do have to find things that people are going to kind of have a little bit of a wow factor, because that's where, and you do things because you love it, right? But you also do it because you want to create and heal and share with the world your gifts and your talents. So if something isn't working, or the marketing of something that you're doing isn't getting out there, maybe you're just not getting to the right people. So number one, if people are kind of, going, I don't know about that, you might just be marketing to the wrong people. So if you kind of like dark, black, goth kind of stuff, and you try to market your art to, the high society people who kind of like the clean lines and the happy stuff, they're going to say your stuff's terrible when it's not terrible, but they're not going to appreciate it. So I think it's really important to find people who appreciate what you do, and to really focus on those people and to move forward so that you can continue to get fed, because that's where the passion comes from, being really good at something. So it may be really being really bad at something that makes you really good at something, but I think that you need that feeding from other people. We're meant to be in a relationship. Every cell in our body communicates with every other cell in our body. Energy, we're all connected. So we are made to be in community with other people. So when you can be in community with other people and you can heal and create, it provides so much more passion ability than if you just kind of create in isolation. Because if nobody ever sees what you do, or never really gets the opportunity to appreciate what you do, it can be a real challenge. One of the things, my son's dad, he was so musically talented, but he never really wanted to play for anybody. And I'd be like, play us a song. And he didn't want to play anything. He's a wonderful man. But, I just felt like he could have been so much more passionate about his talent and his gift if he'd really practiced it and shared it, because he really had the gift. He didn't have to practice very much, but if he had just practiced it a little bit and could have shared it with the world, I think it could have been so much more valuable. Myth 6 is your passion has to be one thing that you're good at. So, one of the problems is being really good at one thing. You can be good at lots of different things and you can combine them. And one of the problems is in school, we're kind of taught to just take a couple of subjects and to focus on. You get one major when you're in college, right? You might have a minor, but you have a major. And so you have to focus and you have to do just that one thing. So, as a life flipper with a deep understanding of physiology and needs and balance, I can bring like a unique flavor to the table with passion, because I combine all sorts of different things. I combine hormones and I combine my knowledge of supplements, and so I combine my knowledge of pharmacology and my knowledge of life flipping stuff, and so I can combine all that together, and I can be kind of this kind of quirky, weird. Is she a doctor? What is she? I mean, she does hormones, but she does supplements, and sometimes she writes prescriptions, but and then sometimes she talks to people like a life coach and a counselor. So, what is she? I'm all of that. I'm all of that, which is really exciting. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a writer, a teacher, a president, an actress, a rock star, a lawyer? You have to pick one thing, right? But you don't. You could actually be a teacher who's a writer, who might be the president of something, who could be an actress, part time, who also plays music, who's a rock star. And maybe I'm a doctor who does all those things. I'm a doctor, I'm a writer, I'm a teacher, I've been a president, I've been an actress before. Um, I've danced, I've been a princess. I've been all those things before, so you don't have to pick one thing. And it's really interesting. I had a lady one time, we were working on this, and I said, well, what do you like to do? And she said, well, I like photography and I like animals and I like dance and I really like cats. And she's like, there's no way I can, and I like to travel. There's no way I can combine all that. So we came up with an idea for her to travel around to different humane societies, taking pictures of mostly cats dancing to really boost the adoption rates of the animals, because when people could see videos of these animals being really quirky or funny, it really increased their adoption rate because it increased their kind of value. They were like kind of like, oh my gosh, that cat's like really cool. And so she was able to combine those things and market that in a way that she could use all her gifts. So you don't have to pick one thing. And it's almost better if you don't, because sometimes that versatility can really be exciting and just bring so much more to the table. So myth 7 is passion doesn't matter. And the truth is the emotion of passion is very important. If you're living a mediocre life, you're probably just getting by. You have higher rates of depression. You have higher rates of regret, which is one of the biggest depression makers. That, you think, well, I could have been an artist, but my mom said I didn't have any talent, so I didn't go to school for that. That's bullcrap. Stop making excuses. I love the saying, if you want something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. So find someone who can teach you the way you learn, make it systematic, and step into that and stop making excuses. So whatever it is you want to do, even if you say I want to be a supermodel, but I'm too old, there are plenty of 60-year-old models. So like that magazines are full of them. So stop. There's no excuses, right? So passion is an expression of self-love and self-importance. And if you're going to have significance in this life, you have to have all that. It says to the world, I'm awesome and I have a unique gift to share. And passion will persuade others to follow you and believe in you. And when you're faced with the 4 F's, it really helps you to stand up to that. It'll make you feel crazy sometimes, and it'll make you feel threatened and scared and all that stuff. But that's just wonderful. So, we pay to have this experience, right? We pay to come be humans. We step into this. So it's delicious. And if you're not passionate about something, then please, I implore you to consider practicing something until you get really good at it so you can be passionate at it. So, what's the price of passion? There's always a negative to everything, right? A yin and a yang. Well, the price of passion is often time. Okay. So, like to write a novel, to learn an instrument, you're going to need to invest some time. And I want to talk about something really interesting. There's a guy named Malcolm Gladwell, and he wrote basically the 10,000 hour rule. And he said to be an expert at anything, you need about 10,000 hours. Well, it's kind of like that gossip thing where someone tells a story and like on down the line, it gets really distorted. Like she kissed him and, it turns out to be she kissed a frog from France, or, I mean, it's like crazy. So this 10,000 hour rule became, don't ever try anything new because you don't have enough time. So we all get in these stuck states. So I read this kind of variation on 20 hours. That 10,000 hours is expert level, but you can learn anything new in 20 hours. And so you have 20 hours, I promise you. 20 hours is like within a month of just investing 30 minutes a day, or an hour a day in something. You can find 20 hours. It's trust me, you can do that. So if you want to know the cost, ask someone who's made the investment before. How long do you think it'll take me to get good at this? And most everything, 20 hours is the answer. So you don't even have to ask. But, ask somebody who's really good. Like I have some friends who are guitarists who've been playing their whole life. And they really say to get really good at it, it took them a couple of years. They've been doing it 4 years, but a couple of years to really kind of, get expert at it. But it didn't take them that long to really learn it and start being able to use it. So find time where you can. The average American spends over 1,000 hours watching TV each year. And I took inventory of that. I pretty much stopped watching TV in college because I was like, I'm not going to spend 1,000 hours a year of my life on TV. Now, I like to binge watch a little Breaking Bad or something like that with my husband just because it's fun and I can veg out. But I do not just sit around and watch TV. And, if you take inventory of the time that you might be spending doing that, if you could just turn the TV off. I even, like when I was in college, I made the decision not to have cable. So I didn't have TV. So it wasn't even an option. I might see TV at somebody else's house sometimes or go to movies. But if you're going to be tempted, maybe you need to do something drastic, like just removing the temptation. And the price of passion are snowballs, basically, that it starts small and that you can just kind of build things, and commitment is a little bit of a price of passion. It's hard to find that habit energy. Like I write every single night when I do my nonfiction stuff, and I am so committed to that. 9:30, I invite my muses, we get busy. And so you have to have that commitment. So if you have a hard time with finding commitment to things, then one of the prices of passion is you're going to have to learn some commitment skills. Exposure is one of the prices of passion. You're probably going to be out there and people are going to be critiquing your work. So, exposure, me just being here talking to you is a level of vulnerability and exposure. And some people are going to go, she's full of crap. I'm not listening to that. And some people are going to, say, hey, this is really great and share it and love it. But exposure, is critical. I just recently, I got a message on my Facebook in Messenger. It was like an invite to Messenger. And so I don't ever tell anybody no, because I just, I love everybody's opinions and thoughts. And I had somebody send me a hate message. It was terrible. It was basically a racist comment, and I'm married to a black man, and it was horrible, and it was saying you're a waste, and it was just so negative. And I'm just saying that because the more exposure I get, I have TV shows, I have radio shows, I'm writing books, I'm out there in the public. The more exposure I get, the more people see me. And the more I'm going to get some of the negative. So I just figure, when you see YouTube videos out there, you see the thumbs up and the thumbs down. And usually you see a lot of thumbs up, but you see a few thumbs down. So people always want to focus on the thumbs down. Ignore the thumbs down. They mean absolutely nothing. And they're just going to get in the way, the fear of you practicing something, becoming really good at it, which then allows you to have passion for it. So don't let those thumbs down get in the way of your practice. Comfort. Sometimes it's not comfortable when you're learning something, when you're practicing something. It's not comfortable, it's not easy. It'll make you feel yucky. When I first started playing guitar, I got calluses on my fingers, and it feels really weird and it's gross and it hurts at first, and then you get the calluses, and then you have no sensation in your fingers, and like you can't really like touch fabric and feel it, and then it gets a little bit rough. So comfort, you're going to lose some comfort as you're working on your passions. That's just a part of it. And your image, sometimes you'll be called crazy, sometimes you'll be called weird, especially when you're in a position where you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to put yourself out there. So your image is sometimes the price of passion. So be willing to pay the price. And the cost is so much lower than the benefit. And if you're living a life without passion, then to me, the cost of not having that is so much higher than any of these little prices of passion. So I'm going to give you just a few little tips, and we're going to kind of move through these kind of quickly, some little exercises you can do. So if you're watching this, you can pause it and you can come back to it later. But give the universe a task list. So I love to make a list, and on the left I put all the things I'm really clear on. So I'm really clear that I can take some lessons for something. I'm really clear I can go to Hobby Lobby and I can buy some paintbrushes and some canvases, and I'm really clear that I can do blah, blah, blah. What I'm not clear on are the things that I expect the universe to show up and give me. So that might be, a serendipitous YouTube video that shows up that like it shows me how to paint something or to play a song or some music that I love, or someone shows up that says, hey, I know how to do that, and I'm like, great, can you show me? So that's how the universe shows up. So when you're clear on what it is you want to do, you don't have to have all the, they call it the cursed house. You don't have to have the house. When you're clear on what it is you want, the other stuff just shows up, but only when you're clear. So that's one cool little thing you can do. I love the New Eyes Fresh Lens. Some of the variations I've heard on this is to pretend that you're an alien that's just landed on the planet, and you're looking at everything like computers and like clothes and makeup and food, and everything's through new fresh eyes, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. How could I use that? What could I do with that? And so really looking at your life through a new lens, or a child's lens, basically, that everything's really cool and fun and there for your enjoyment and for you to play with. So those new fresh eyes can be really cool. I love the remember when game. So if your life is showing up in a way right now and you're not living your passion, play this game with someone and tell them what you're going to do so they don't think you're completely crazy. But say, remember when I was in that stuck job that I didn't really like. And isn't it so cool now that like I'm playing out music every night and I'm getting paid really well to do it? Remember when I had that really small little apartment and I just thought I was going to lose my mind if I was there one more day, and now I have this really wonderful home and it's just so amazing and great. And so even though you're not there now, if you can have the experience of being there and kind of in a fun way remembering when it wasn't there, it can help you have the feeling of having it now. So that's pretty cool. So I love remember when game. I love sticky note manifesting. Sticky note manifesting is when you make a list or when you make a vision board, you're really committing to that thing. I love my vision board. You probably see it back there. You're really committing to having that in your life. But when you make little sticky notes and you say, I want a new cat, and you like put it on a sticky note, and then the sticky note gets lost, it kind of takes you're focused on it, and you were focused enough to make the sticky note, but you're not so focused on it. You're like, when's that new cat going to show up? Or, when am I going to be able to find the right cat for me? Or when is that new job going to show up? So if you wrote, I want to be an artist, you kind of put on the sticky note and then you take some action. And then, so it's so powerful. And I also love the thought of just having it kind of out there and it just kind of being something you're not so focused on it that you actually push it away in the wanting of it. So sticky notes are kind of just a casual way to say that'd be cool. And again, in the other modules, I talk about getting very specific on the things that you really want. So if it's just something that would kind of enhance your life, sticky note it. If it's something that you really want, get really clear on it so that the universe has a clear way of helping you. I love baby step manifesting. What baby step manifesting means is that we are all manifestors. We are all very powerful manifestors. But if your life is showing up in a way right now that you don't really like, or things are showing up that don't feel good to you, I'm not judging them right or wrong. I'm just saying if they don't feel good to you or they're not serving you, then you need to make some different choices. So we're always making choices, and depending on those choices is how stuff shows up for us. So baby step manifesting is basically saying, you're a manifester and recognizing what you manifested. So if you said something nasty to somebody and they sue you, you manifested that. So just honor that you manifested that. But baby step manifesting is basically saying, I'm going to go to the refrigerator and I'm going to make an avocado salad. You're basically you are manifesting that just by saying you're going to do it and then going to do it. So just recognizing all the things you do on a daily basis that you're manifesting or creating. So it's not a big stretch to create other things. Abraham Hicks says it's as easy to manifest a button as it is a castle. And I was like, one day I was thinking, you know what? It'd be hard for me to make a button. I'd have to have a plastic mold, and it's not so easy to manifest a button. But it is easy to ask to borrow a button, or it is easy to go to the store and buy a button. So really manifesting things that seem big to you is all in the belief and the self-worth that it's not that big. So part of this process in all these modules is to be able to minimize what you think is big and to call it just a baby manifestation. I'm just going to make that happen. And when you take the bigness out of it, then it can totally happen because the belief system changes around it. So that's where manifesting gets really fun, is the things that you once thought were really big. Now that if you can just see them as easy manifesting because you've practiced it and you've gotten out of your comfort zone just a little bit, then you can start doing the things that make you passionate, and manifesting those things can become really awesome. API, assume positive intent. We're making a movement. I hope that you write API in your hand with a permanent marker, an eyeliner, and please share this and promote this, because if you assume positive intent in the people, even just under your roof, your husband, your wife, the people that you love, then you can just bring so much positivity to your life. And then if you can assume positive intent in the people out there in society, we have this election coming up. I wrote a nice little thing about API on the election. If you could just see, and I'm not saying the candidates are right or wrong, or they haven't done stuff that we would judge as good or bad. I'm just saying, if you could see them as scared little girl or a scared little boy who had a lot of scarcity in their life, who had a lot of limitation, who have worked really hard and practiced things that they're really passionate about. And maybe they have been in some difficult decisions and had to, like, and maybe Trump was in a place where maybe he did say some stupid things, but who hasn't said some stupid things, right? And maybe there's maybe if you could just assume some positive intent, that our government really has our back, and that no matter what, it's going to be okay. Or if not that, go one step further and say God's got our back, right? So even if we get the worst politician possible in there and the government's all waxed, then at least God's got our backs, right? God's going to take care of us. So assuming positive intent just takes the pressure and the yuckiness and the backbiting and the negativity out of everything. So it just allows you to be in a really positive space. So as you're creating something that you can be passionate about, remember I said you only create from stage 3 or 4, so you have to be really positive. You have to be in a good flow. You have to be in love, not fear. And the best way to get into love is to assume positive intent in everything around you. So that's why API is so, so, so important. Learn something new. I can't say this enough, and I want to talk about a little bit more about the 10,000 hours and the 20 hours. So basically, you could learn to dance or guitar or paint. Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book called Outliers, and what he said was all of the people who were experts at things spent about 10,000 hours when he added up the time that they put into something. But what he also said when he came back and he published another book, The First 20 Hours, by Josh Kaufman, he was talking about basically to learn something new only takes about 20 hours. So I tested this, and he said that one of the things he did was learn to play the ukulele. I've always wanted to play an instrument. And so he basically did this presentation where he showed that his 20th hour on the ukulele, he played this medley, this song for the TED Talk or whatever the group was. And it was just so impactful to me because there are so many things in my life that I just have all these limiting beliefs, and I'd be like, oh, I'm too old, or that would take too much time. I don't have the time to learn that. So my husband bought me a ukulele when I told him about this last Christmas, and I tested it. Within 20 hours, I was literally able to play the ukulele at the nursing home for my mom and play songs for the little ladies in there and everything. And so then I really want to play the guitar, but the ukulele was easy. And so the reason I'm telling you this is because the ukulele only has 4 strings. The guitar has 6. The ukulele has fewer chords, fewer chord progressions. It's just easy strumming. So I thought, well, if I can do that in 20 hours, can I play the guitar in 20 hours? And so the neuroplasticity that I developed with the strings on the guitar, on the ukulele, allowed me to make new connections and to believe the possibility that I could actually play the guitar. So I got the guitar. I was scared. I was terrible. Oh my gosh, when I first started plunking around on it, it was so bad. In fact, one morning my husband came and shut the bedroom door, and I got my feelings so hurt. And he's so wonderful. He wasn't awake yet, hadn't had his coffee, and hearing that terrible plunking, I mean, it was just like, that was really insensitive of me. And so I started playing in my closet for a while until I got to my 20 hours. I played in my closet, and then he felt bad. He was like, honey, I didn't mean you had to like go hide out in your closet. And I'm like, no, really, it's okay. I just wanted to get through my 20 hours. And when I did, it got so much better. So, it's been a couple of months now, and, I haven't got to my 10,000 hours, so I'm not a classical guitarist yet. But I just want to kind of show you that I went from literally nothing to, my 20 hours, and I'm able to do a little bit now. So I'm just going to kind of just show you just a little bit. I'm not going to play you like a whole song. But, I had all these limiting beliefs that I'm too old, that, I'm not talented, I'm not gifted at music, I'm not gifted at the guitar, and so all those areas in my life with art or music or anything like that, where I've gotten out of my way and I've kind of looked at, I can do this. So what I did was I learned, number one, how to tune. So I got on YouTube and I found people who taught the way I learned, and not everybody did I resonate with. So when I would find somebody I would resonate with, I'd be like, okay, cool, I can do this. And then I learned to, I got these little tab things, and so I went to the guitar store and I asked them what would be an easy way to learn some chords. So they had me these little paper tabs that show the chords on them. And so I learned 4 or 5 chords, and then I learned a few songs that I could play those chords with. So the progression was very systematic. And even though the practice was not always sounding good, I always knew that if I just kind of stayed with that, I'd get just a little bit better. So I have so much fun now, and it's just So, it's part of my life now. I just absolutely love this. So, get to me your lover, take from me my lace. Get to me your lover, take from me my lace. So, just easy little chord progressions and stuff. So, I can go to my mom's nursing home and play, and that might have sounded terrible to you. I don't know, but I love it, and I love being able to do that. And I went from having all these limiting beliefs that I don't have the time to learn something new to really creating new neuroplasticity in my brain at almost 50 years old. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. So if there's something you want to learn, just go buy it, go get it, go do it, and stop arguing for your limitations. So it's so fun and it's so valuable. So you're here. Hopefully, here is this place with this new thought after listening today that you can see that anything is possible. I don't care how old you are, how sick you are, where you're at, that all of this can heal you through learning new things and learning and practicing. And when you practice something, you get better at it. And when you get better at it, you get passionate about it. And so I am so addicted to my guitar. I take it everywhere I go now. I love painting. When I go travel or we go to the beach, I take my paints with me. And I just get better and better at it. And I might not be the best at it. I might not be the best in the world, and I might not be a famous painter right now, but I'm practicing it, and people begin to value me and love me for it. So whatever it is, just keep that neuroplasticity. The brain is like a big muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So the more you learn, the more you grow, the more you continue to do, the more value you'll find in your life and this experience. And you never get it wrong, you never get it done. So I hope this has been really valuable for you. I hope that above all, you find something to practice and to really value in your life that you can be totally passionate about. And it's probably already there. It's probably already something that you're gifted at. Maybe you need to combine a few things. I had a girl who liked to fish and she liked YouTube videos and she's a beautician. So I'm like, maybe you could combine, a way to put all those things together and do something really kind of quirky and fun and cool. So whatever it is that you're really good at right now or gifted at, you could just practice it a little bit more and make it just a little bit better. And I promise you that's where your passion is. And my passion was right under my own nose. My emotion of passion for what I do and love was right there all along. And I'm just living it every day. And I want that for you too. So if you want that, please embrace this knowledge, this information, and please share it with someone that you love, that you want to have passion in their life as well. So in summary, overall, the modules, I just want to kind of tie this up in a nice little bow for you. Choose to feel good now. There's nothing more important than your happiness. There's nothing more important than you feeling good. So I think that's one of the things I love about the guitar is if I get in a funk or, something triggers me or something makes me not feel good, I can go get in Prince's River of Music and I can play my guitar and I can just sing and I can just feel completely relieved of whatever the stress is. So that's one of the things that having something that you're passionate about can give you is that release and that freedom to just feel good now, because nothing is more important than you feeling good now. Capital letters, always assume positive intent. Nothing is more important than assuming positive intent everywhere you go. People always say, well, what if someone has negative intent? If you assume positive intent, you'll be more likely to see when it's actually not positive intent. So that's the beauty of that. But it just changes the way you feel, and nothing's more important than you feeling good right now. So it doesn't matter what their intent is. You assuming positive intent helps you feel good now, which helps you get in a space where you can be more passionate. Be aware of your self-care. Very, very important. If you're not taking care of yourself, if you're hungry, if you're cold, if you're tired, get some sleep. If you need your hormones looked at, talk to me. If whatever you need, be aware of that self-care. Feed your body the right nutrients. Exercise, do the right things, keep your body detoxed. Just be kind to your body. Self-care is so important. Be aware of your stage that you're in. And again, go back and look at that first module if you're unclear about what the stages are. Focus on being in stage 3 or stage 4 all the time. Create and manifest from those stages. It's so powerful. The stuff that shows up is so much funner and so much more passion inspiring in those stages. Be your greatest version of yourself, unfolding now. Always choose love. Choose love. It's either fear, noise, or love. So choose love. The rest of it's just fear or noise. And flip everything. You have the opportunity in any given moment to look at the negative or the positive. So I truly hope that you'll choose the positive. That's what assuming positive intent is all about. So I truly hope that you'll see that the glass is always full. It may be half full of air and half full of water, but the glass is always full. So whatever your flip is, please choose love. Please choose to see it in a positive intent, and it can really change the way things show up in your life. So if things aren't showing up the way you want them to so much right now, you're not broken, you don't need fixed, but you may need to make some different choices. So I hope this has been really helpful to help you make some different choices. I love you all. Please have a blessed week. We have restarted our Naked Doctor show. So if you are a fan, we are on AM 1390 radio on Saturdays and Sunday mornings. AM 1390, there's a live streaming app, and we're on Fayetteville Public Access, so you can watch the show there. And our shows are always uploaded to YouTube and to Facebook, so you can watch them. And our Facebook page is the Naked Doctor page, so please visit us there. Please like the material, share it, and implement it in your life, and practice, 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 and find your passion. Love you guys, and please have a wonderful, passionate, blessed week. I'll see you very soon.